this fight was a bit painful to research because me, myself, I'm not the biggest fan of Alonzo Menifield, to be honest with you. He's dangerous, he's explosive, and he's got athleticism, obviously. We've seen how we've seen some of the finishes he's had in the UFC, but equally, some of the losses he had has been quite underwhelming from him, as he hasn't really shown that power, the devastating striking, translate into other fights. So it's sort of like reliance upon explosivity and power, and sort of like swinging in lucky shots and so on and so forth. You know, like not really much skill or technicality to Alonzo Menifield, but has got the ability to show he can finish his opponent at certain times, but very iffy, very up and down. Taking on Misha Cirkunov, someone who's coming off a losing streak. I think 3 losses in a row. And in his last 5, I think he's only won 1 fight. So not looking too good for Misha Cirkunov either. But when you match both of these fighters up, I think Misha Cirkunov has got more of the better experience, is better quality of a fighter than Alonzo Menifield, has a lot more output. And in a fight like this, Alonzo Menifield can only really rely on his explosivity and look to sort of take out Cirkunov, because I think the longer he's in there with Cirkunov, I think the muscularity of Menifield will start to work against him, because Cirkunov's bigger. He works at a higher work rate. He likes to push his opponent up against the fence, and he's got good grappling, good submission game. I think it will drain Menifield. We might see, and I think we're going to see Cirkunov beat Menifield on a points decision in a bit of an underwhelming fight. Menifield can knock out Cirkunov, so there'll probably be some scares in it. But yeah, I mean, it's not really one I'd really bank on because of the unreliability of Menifield. But either Menifield scores an early finish or Cirkunov on points is what I'm going with. Leaning towards Cirkunov on points. How do you see this one going down?
I have to apologize by saying that I'm happy that this is the first fight. I'm not really a fan of either of them either. Menifield does have some good wrestling. You know, he has some alright wrestling that will play a factor. You know, as you said, he has the size and the power behind him to maybe even get a highlight finish. You know, Cirkunov is coming off a string of losses. He's not coming in very confident anyway. You know, that confidence could come off immensely and get finished by Alonzo. But I'm leaning towards Cirkunov. You know, his output is a bit more than Menifield. He has a lot more output. He has a lot more variety of strikes. When we was watching the Menifield fights, like he's proper like one-sided. You know, he throws his combos and he goes to his grappling. If that doesn't work, he goes back.
You mean like one-dimensional more than one-sided, isn't it?
Yeah, one-dimensional. I mean, so for that reason, I'm gonna go with Cirkunov. I'm gonna say that his output will be a factor in this. I reckon Cirkunov's gonna. I'm in 2 minds about if it's gonna be striking or if it'll go to grappling. But I think Cirkunov's gonna want it to stay striking, so he's gonna come in explosive and try to get that striking finish as quick as possible to not allow Alonzo to even use the weapon that he has against him. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'm not sure about a finish, but it could be points. Maybe Cirkunov points or a late finish because of tiredness. That's what I'm leaning towards. Late finish because of tiredness or points by Cirkunov.
So we're both going with Cirkunov to get the win over Alonzo Menifield here. Let us know what you think is going to happen in the comment section below. Dusko Todorovic versus Jordan Wright. It's going down in the middleweight division, and both of these fighters have had a similar career in the UFC since they've debuted, having about 5-6 fights each, and both having good victories, looking good, having some good performances, but equally against good competition, crumbling, getting knocked out quite badly. We have Jordan Wright losing against Bruno Silva, Marc-Andre Barrios in his last fight, but getting knocked out badly against Bruno Silva and then Joaquin Buckley. So we know Bruno Silva's quite a good striker, going the distance with Alex Pereira. And Joaquin Buckley has shown his ability to perform well on some nights, and then in other nights he doesn't perform so well. But he's a solid fighter, so not bad losses to have. And then on the other hand, Dusko Todorovic getting KO'd by the likes of Chidi and Jakani, losing decision victory to Gregory Rodriguez, and Ulias getting knocked out by Punahele Soriano, of course, getting clipped through making little mistakes, costing him the night. And in the fights that they've won, they've looked really good though. They've performed well, and sort of look like that they have a lot to show in themselves and for the division. However, when it gets to those sort of levels, they sort of crumble. They get hit with big shots and sort of they can't hold the punishment. So it's a good fight for these two to fight each other. They sort of reflect each other. And even with the striking, Todorovic, quite dangerous, good pressure, good boxing to some degree, but his defense is a little bit slack. Leg makes a lot of mistakes. Yeah. He pulls his head back in a straight line and he gets clipped. That's how he lost his KO. That's how he lost by KO, by pulling back and then getting clipped with shots. And no, in the Jakani fight, sorry, it was a clinch, isn't it? And he got clipped over the top. But in the Punahele Soriano fight, he leant back and got hit with a shot. So his defense is a bit leaky. And likewise for Jordan Wright, offensive striker, can show good aggression, throws like a hell of a lot of strikes per minute. But again, leaky defense. And so when you put these fighters together, as they both have good grappling as well, that will sort of, not good grappling, but I think enough to sort of neutralize each other and keep the fight on the feet. I think it's going to be a bit of an exciting fight. It's like going to be eye-catching and so on and so forth. And I see Dusko Todorovic just out-fighting him, you know, just because he's a little bit more technically sound and he's able to fight on the inside. I've noticed with Jordan Wright, when he's put under pressure, and you fight him on the inside and in close range, he sort of gets clumsy and he falls apart and he becomes vulnerable to get hit with quite a lot of shots. Although the only strength I think on the inside Jordan Wright has is the clinch and knees throughout the middle. I mean, we've seen that in quite a few. He's able to land a few, but then he gets caught himself off the clinch. So I think Todorovic will drag him into a closer fight in the inside, mid-range, push him up against the fence and beat him up. And I think it's actually going to go to a decision victory. I don't think this fight's actually good. I was initially thinking under 1.5, but the more I think about this fight and look at it, I think... And one other observation that I want to make is that Jordan Wright's looking like, in his last fight against Marc-Andre Barrios, I think due to the damage he took, he looked a lot more like he was in survival mode, like he didn't want to engage or be there to get hit with any shots. He was running around the cage and then he went to initiating grappling and some takedowns rather than striking. So very curious to see how Jordan Wright's going to fight. Maybe he's taken so much damage that he's got to sort of stay in survival mode for his own safety, and maybe mentally he's sort of in that mode where he doesn't want to take big shots, so he's fighting in that way. And if he does, he's going to back himself up and fall into a trap, I think, and then get probably finished by Dusko. But if he's able to, if he's able to not look like what he looked like in a Barrios fight, and then he does what he does in his other fights, he's maybe able to keep Todorovic off for a little bit, but lose a decision victory to Todorovic. So that's what I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over decision victory for Dusko. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Wright is a bit clumsy. You know, he has got the power and the fighting style to get the finish. But I don't think it will go finish. I think it could finish. If it does have a finish, it will be like third round, maybe late second, but it will be third round where they're a bit tired out, where they're a bit gassed out, and then he might be able to get the kick because he does like to use that kick. That kick is powerful. You know, he's got the knees, so the legs can keep the distance, and he can get a knockout. But I'm leaning more towards Dusko. Dusko is just a more technical fighter. He's a lot quicker. I feel like he's going to break down that distance. He's going to close it in quickly, and he's just going to outstrike Wright for most of the fight. I reckon he's going to get inside, outstrike him. If they do go to grappling, I reckon he just slightly has the advantage over him. Just slightly, but it will be just enough just to get him down and then finish him with that ground and pound, because he does do well once he gets down on the ground. And to initiate that ground and pound, he knows how to stretch out his opponents and initiate it. So it's gonna be a good fight. Mainly striking. You know, I do see Wright trying to keep the distance, but as you've already said, he does get flustered as soon as the distance is broken down. And Dusko is very, very good at breaking down the distance.
Yeah, exactly.
Dusko, sorry, he is very good at breaking down the distance. He gets close in and he's fast, So I think that's how I see it going. I see him closing and maybe getting a finish, if not winning by points.
Yeah, I can see like in a way how Dusko can get a finish. Like looking at the Con Townsend fight, do you remember that where he was beating him up against the cage? Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
So with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the finish, man. And so I don't even know where to go. I'm actually thinking he might get the finish as well. But I think Dusko's going to win regardless, whether it's finish or decision. I think he beats Jordan Wright. Both going with Dusko Todorovic to beat Jordan Wright here. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. We're going to break down Brandon Royval versus Askarov. Brandon Royval being the underdog, I'm actually picking him. I think he's going to win this fight. And I think I'm going to explain the reasons why. And I think it's actually quite glaring. The only way he loses this is if he slips up like he did in the Pantoja fight. And he gets caught with like a rear naked choke or something like that. But I think for the most part, I think he's going to be able to actually outfight Askarov, keep him at bay, and just force like a lot of output on Askarov. And I think Askarov's going to end up panic wrestling because of the output from Royval. And I think we might even see Royval get a submission over Askarov. I know it's not something that a lot of people think, it's not something. A lot of people are picking Askarov to win this fight. But I just think that like Askarov has no striking. Like I don't see any threat that he brings on the stand-up. And I think with Royval being so well versed on the ground, with that long frame as well, I think that he's going to give a lot of problems to Askarov's game, and I think he's just going to be better than him on the night. Have more success on the feet and then on the ground where Askarov should be dominating. I think he's going to have trouble there, and then Brandon Royval will find some good positions on the ground from the bottom as well. So going with Brandon Royval on this one, and it's interesting because both of them have fought three of the same people in Kai Kara-France, Alexander Pantoja, and who was the other person? There's another person they fought, but looking at them all together, like matching them up, you can see that the most glaring thing is the output, like from Royval. I think Royval beat Kai Kara-France. Kai Kara-France edged Askarov in a bit of a close fight, but again, the striking was the thing that sort of edged Kai Kara-France over Askarov. Pantoja, Kai Kara-France. Who was the third person they both fought? I actually can't remember. Had a complete mind blank here, but yeah. So they fought three people anyway, which is in common. So you're able to sort of match them up and see how they look and so on and so forth. Yeah, man. So yeah, going with Brandon Royval. Who do you think's going to win this one? Who are you going with in this one?
I'm leaning towards Brandon. Definitely towards Brandon. Askar is a great grappler. Great wrestling. Great takedowns. Great fighter. But I just feel like Brandon's pace and speed that he does fight with will just overpower Askar. I just feel like Brandon comes in with such explosiveness, good striking, good accuracy with the striking as well. With that, he's even mixes in good grappling as well. He has amazing grappling defense. Like it is hard to pin him down. He will make it very hard for Askar, and seeing as that will be Askar's like main weapon in this
After
fight.
victory, isn't it? Yeah. He's
Yeah,
only
like
way, really, isn't it?
this will literally be his only advantage in it is the wrestling and grappling. Because Brandon outdoes him in striking. He has a better accuracy. His pace is 10 times as fast as Askar. Like the pace in the fights that they have is crazy different. So I don't think Askar's gonna even be able to keep up with him. I think he's gonna get overwhelmed. And even if he does, he will be he will be forced to go for the takedown, and it won't go as well as he thinks because Brandon's defense is good, and then it can get turned around straight back to the feet where Brandon has control. So I'm leaning a lot more towards Brandon Royval in this one. He's gonna.
Mm.
I would say maybe second or early third round finish, but I'm not sure. That's why I say that I think there may be this may get a highlight because I think Royval is gonna be coming in hungry and he knows that there is a chance he can get taken from behind or something. So he's gonna become an explosive and he's gonna try and get the finish. I think that's
Yeah, I think that's another point is that he can very well prepare for Askarov in that he knows that there's not much danger on the feet. Askarov brings is the takedowns and the wrestling. So unlike Pantoja and these other fighters where their stand up's been a lot more dangerous, Askarov doesn't really have that. So I expect Royval to prepare well and then have something prepared for the grappling
yeah.
for Askarov. So yeah, both of us going with the underdog, Brandon Royval, to win this one against Askarov. Let us know who you think is going to win in the comment section below. So we're going to break down Cub Swanson versus Jonathan Martinez. And right off the bat, I think Cub Swanson is actually going to knock Jonathan Martinez out. And upon looking at both fighters' last 5 fights, why I think that Cub Swanson is going to find the KO against Jonathan Martinez is because Martinez, in all of his fights that I've seen of his, has good output. Yes, has good kicking to the legs, to the head, to the body, throws like a high output of shots, moves around the cage quite well, and is comfortable as a striker. Has managed to land a lot of strikes on his opponent to get decision victories, but he's never able to really hurt his opponent. He hasn't got any power, substantial power at all, and we've seen that in the Davy Grant fight when Jonathan Martinez fought him. Davy Grant felt that he had no power, and in the second round, at the end of the first round and going into the second round, really started to devastate flipping Jonathan Martinez purely from walking down, not respecting Martinez's shots. Davy Grant started winging in big power shots and eventually caught him with a winging left hook with no technique at all, really. He's not really like a good technical striker, Davy Grant. It's just the fact he felt that there was no power coming from Martinez. So he just walked him down and then started, you see what happened, started winging in big power shots and then just laid him out flat. Against, who was it, Alejandro Perez as well. We saw the same thing against Jonathan Martinez to some degree. At the end of every round, although it wasn't enough, Perez put it on Martinez.
Yeah, exactly.
And we saw, I think he dropped him at the end of the first round, end of the second round, has him flustered and so on and so forth. And I think with Cub Swanson, although he's old now, 38, obviously former veteran and has had fights back in the day with a lot of the top guys, Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, Frankie Edgar, I think back in the day as well. Not, I think, yeah, like he fought like quite at a high level from back in the day and that. So he's got experience. Yeah, he's got a lot of experience, and I think that from his recent fights, he's still got that ability to set up some devastating shots. Yeah, he isn't as young. He's not going to be able to have as much output as Martinez, but I think he'll be able to read the patterns from Martinez, line up some nice striking, and then put him away with like devastating combination and some clean shots. Like similar to what we saw against Davy Grant when Jonathan Martinez fought him. And I say that again because it's just, although Cub Swanson has got his these recent wins against older people like Darren Elkins, and then against the other guy, obviously he lost against Jigga Jakatsi with a body kick and that. Daniel Pineda, that's it, yeah. So, but with that being said, obviously, even though he's old, it showed the ability he can still really be explosive, devastating, and dangerous at that age. Because those other fighters ain't showing that, and I think Martinez doesn't have that at all. He hasn't got no danger, regardless of how young he is. So, with Swanson having that striking ability, the experience, the ability to really hurt someone, I don't think he's going to respect Martinez's power, and I reckon he's going to end up lining up something and just taking out Martinez with something major, landing something really clean, hurting him, and then finishing him off. So I'm going with Cub Swanson by KO. What do you think, T?
Yeah, I'm leaning a lot towards Cub Swanson. I really like Cub Swanson. He's an exciting fighter. Gets a lot of highlights. As you said, he's been a high caliber fighter for years. He's fought some good fights before. He's a great fighter. We all like to see him fight. I don't think Martinez, although he is coming off a string of wins, and he has he has done enough. He's literally just done enough just to win the fights. I don't think it'll be enough for Swanson. I think Swanson's gonna um just bombard him with that experience. I reckon he's just gonna it's gonna be too much. The pace, the attack. Swanson likes to get inside and throw combos, and he's all over his opponents. Martinez is a bit too reserved for it, so I think Swanson's gonna definitely overpower him and definitely take him out. I reckon we're looking at like maybe a late second round finish, maybe third round. It could finish even earlier if Martinez doesn't defend well. But I'm giving Martinez more credit because he is coming off a string of wins. He does perform well. He does stick to his game plans. Um, he's good at controlling his space. So so we we'll see, but I'm leaning a lot towards Cub because Cub Swanson, he's a great fighter. I reckon we might even get a highlight finish in this, hopefully.
So both of us going with Cub Swanson in this one, but I tell you, I was initially leaning towards Jonathan Martinez because of the youth and stuff. But upon looking at their fights and really studying how they are, man, I think, yeah, like you said, Martinez a little bit too reserved,
Yeah.
lacks the power and danger, and Cub
Even
Swanson, man.
even with the age, we can't age can be a factor, but look at Trinaldo. Who did he fight
Yeah.
again? Who did he fight
Randy
again?
Brown the other week, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we thought we even said as well that the age might be a factor, but
And that he could have trouble like with
exactly,
him. He
but
might hurt him,
he
drop him,
proved
and he
that
did.
he proved
He
that.
did. He dropped him a couple times, didn't he, Trinaldo? Obviously.
Cub Swanson might show us all again, just like Trinaldo did. That age isn't a factor. He's still got it. He's still got it behind him. So it's gonna be a good one. I'm looking forward to this fight.
Both of us going with Cub Swanson to get the victory. Let us know who you think is going to win this in the comment section below. Alexa Grasso versus Viviane Araujo, the main event of UFC Fight Night, Las Vegas 62. And I'm going to actually go with Alexa Grasso on this one. Upon looking at both fighters and studying both of their fights, it's going to be a striking battle, as we both know. There's going to be some attempt for grappling, I think mainly from Araujo in this fight. And I think Grasso will do enough to have her own good submission attempts off the back and find her way up on the feet. And I think over the course of 5 rounds, I think Alexa Grasso is going to piece up, outwork, and outstrike Viviane Araujo. We've seen Araujo in a lot of her fights is very effective and dangerous in the first couple of rounds. So as long as Grasso can survive that, she should be able to then take the rest of the fight, as Araujo notably tires and gasses out at the end of the second round. And really starts to crumble because of the exhaustion and because of her tiredness. You see it in her body language and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it's only for that reason. I mean, if Araujo was able to keep that consistency, I'd give her more of a chance and probably have her win in this fight because she is very dangerous and has a lot of power in her strides. Another observation from looking at Viviane Araujo is that she doesn't really like getting hit. You hit her and she's a little bit chinny, number one. And number two, she kind of can't handle the pressure of being hit. So you see that in a lot of her fights. Like with Roxanne Modafferi, she did have no danger coming back towards her. So she showed her tiredness in the third round, but for the most part, was very comfortable at beating up an unable striker in Roxanne Modafferi. And then you see other fights like, I think the Jessica I fight. Jessica I started landing some big shots on her. And as Araujo got tired, again, she just like sort of withered away and lost that fight on point. Yeah, and Chikagian as well. Another loss that Araujo has, and it was due to the output and that someone is, going to stand with her and sort of strike with her. Despite the power difference, obviously, Chikagian not having any power, due to her volume, her movement, and just sort of her will, she sort of managed to beat Araujo. And I think that's the difference here. Regardless of Araujo being dangerous and powerful and everything, Grasso, I think, has that will in her as well. She conserves her energy. She fights very calculated, is technically good. And we seen like in the fight against Carla Esparza, yeah. The last round of that fight, she really started pouring it on, and it showed she could have gone strong into around 4 and 5 whereas Araujo doesn't show that. And for all those reasons, Grasso should win this fight quite comfortably as long as she can survive the first early attack and onslaught from Viviane Araujo. There are a few things, like I see Grasso a little bit vulnerable to the left hook. She gets caught with that in that, I think, Yi Jung Kim, excuse me the pronunciation for that, but when she fought that fight, she got caught a lot of times with the left hook, and against Carlo Esparza as well, the left hook was landing. So that's the only thing she really needs to watch out for. And as long as she's able to survive that, she should win comfortably. So going with Alexa Grasso, how do you see this one going down, and who do you think?
I gotta agree with you. It's gonna go down like striking battle. Definitely gonna be a striking battle. I feel like Araujo is gonna be forced into shooting for the takedown, which she is good at though. She does have good wrestling, good takedowns.
And good jiu-jitsu, remember, black belt in jiu-jitsu apparently as well. So
exactly. So she will be forced to go that way, and if it does, I reckon she will give Grasso some danger. Definitely give her some danger. Put her in some dangerous spots. But I think Grasso, I like how she fights. She's a steady fighter, very technical. You know, she's accurate. She knows how to control her space and her distance, and keep her opponent at the space that she needs them to be. And Araujo might not be able to handle that pressure because she likes to come in the inside. She likes to go. She likes to keep the pressure on and step forward as we see. But Grasso is good at keeping him at distance. She's good at throwing the kicks, and I feel like, as you said, late round 2, round 3, Araujo will start getting tired, and because it is a 5-round fight, I do see her maybe getting finished in the 4th round if she even survives to the 4th round. But I feel like it's just gonna be a game plan for Grasso to survive to the later rounds and then put on the pressure a bit more because she can hold it back. She has got it. So it's gonna be a good fight. I'm going to lean towards Grasso. Finish in the 4th round.
I'm actually thinking a finish as well now, man, because of how Grasso was putting it on Esparza in the last round of their fight, and because of the tiredness from Araujo. I think if Grasso can find that volume and accuracy in those rounds, do think she can get a stoppage. Both going with Grasso here. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Like, subscribe. Thank you for joining us.